Our guest today has been with an organization since day one in the NHL, and they have seen a lot of hockey. So you're really going to enjoy this. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a little Flyers-centric, but I promise you all listening, no matter what NHL team you root for, you're going to enjoy this episode because we really dive in with the questioning on what makes NHL athletes great, what makes games so great, what makes mites on ice so great. So you're going to enjoy this one, I promise, no matter where you are. And if you don't, email me at team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also want to remind you, if you want to support us and support the show, make sure you check out our partners, Hockey Wraparound. They have the top selling off-ice hockey training aid in the Hockey Wraparound. They also have a patented, beautiful portable dryer for your equipment that attaches right to the stick called the Dry Stick. They are good friends of ours for some of you might know obvious reasons, but we really believe in that product, and they are a trust-first, fan-first led business. So if you head over to hockeywraparound.com, use OKPH at checkout, you're going to get a discount on their #1 selling hockey wraparound blade protector. There is nothing else out there that compares to it. Make sure you check that out. Again, hockeywraparound.com, OKPH at checkout. But without further ado, let's get you to the episode with our guest today, Lou Nolan, who has been with his organization since day one. Here we go. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias with Mike Benelli. Our guest today has witnessed 8 Stanley Cup Finals, 2 NHL All-Star games, multiple outdoor games, the NCAA Frozen Four, the NHL entry draft, and has been around the NHL players, executives, coaches, and fans since 1967. He is the author of If These Walls Could Talk, which I have my signed copy right here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Philadelphia Flyers public address announcer Lou Nolan to the show. Lou, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey.
Well, thanks. Thanks very much. I'm glad to be here, and this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm not going to lie to you, man. It's a little surreal that voice is speaking to me because it's a voice that I've been hearing my entire life as a Flyers fan. I want to assure the entire audience as well. We have a lot of Flyers fans that listen, but I promise the non-Flyers fans, you're going to enjoy this episode because as we do, we're going to dive into the game a lot and Lou's really amazing experience. And Lou, again, you've literally been with the Flyers since year one. There are not many people in the NHL who can say that with a franchise as tenured as the Philadelphia Flyers, which allows me to ask a really unique question. Over the lifespan of the team, the highs and the lows, in your opinion, what are the key factors to a franchise succeeding but also floundering?
Hockey players, management, luck, the draft, free agency. Things of that nature. You know, the team that started here was a bunch of guys that were, you know, I'd love to see the average age of the team that we started with in '67. I don't know, but I remember the guys. I was around them. I did some traveling then, and a good bunch of people, but they were not kids. They were cast-offs that were sort of allowed to be drafted by their own tems. The NHL draft then was just submit your players who can be drafted and you go ahead and do them. As opposed to now, you pay so much for a franchise that Gary Bettman has ensured them that they'll be competitive. And, you know, you look at Vegas. I mean, you know, they pull a great draft. Their GM makes a few deals where I won't draft your guy if, you know, if you give me this guy. And make some deals there, get some players and do some smart things, and you're in the finals. You know, it's an amazing, amazing sport. But from a team that was fairly mature, that's a good word, to a team now, which we have, which is fairly young, except for 1 or 2 people that changed the average a little bit. But this is a bunch of kids now. And I've seen it from guys that I was younger than, to a team that won the cup that I was their age, the same. So hanging out was different, to a team now where, you know, they're all kids, except for a few guys, and they're even younger than me. So, you know, it's different.
You know, Lou, I had the privilege of working at the NHL during the time when the 40th anniversary was going on, and they did that documentary. And I remember on the cutting room floor, I won't say, but just to give the listeners an idea how much things have changed. Hall of Fame player back in the 70s and early 80s was saying that, you know, they started doing off-ice training, quotations here. And there's this great shot of him with a cigarette training in the training room, smoking between reps. So you could say a lot has changed in terms of the athletes and the demeanor of athletes over that time period. But I never forgot that video. It was crazy.
It's so true. People arrived at training camp and they were to get in shape. They arrived at camp to get in shape. Now, if they arrive in camp to get in shape, guess what? They're cut.
Yeah.
They've got to stay all year and they've got to stay in condition because somebody's going to take your job.
Yeah, that's, and those are, I mean, your lifespan of the game, right, is really, one of the reasons we love having guys like you on is because we get to hear, really, just the evolution of the player. But one of the things that's always a common theme with us and anybody we talk to from NHL perspective with the players is the quality of the athlete, like just the what the person does. And I was just wondering, from your perspective, what do you think some of the qualities of these players you've seen over all these years, spanning the NHL? What are the similar qualities that you see in these players that are succeeding? And the young, the old, the veterans, the new guys. I mean, obviously, off ice training is one thing, and not having taking a cigarette before the second period has probably changed. But just what are the some of the qualities you see in the young men that you're dealing with, because you have to interview these guys, you have to get to know them, you're getting their backstories. I mean, what's some of the qualities that some of our players that want to listen, that are going to be listening to this, might take away from your experiences with the players you work with?
I'll tell you, Mike, don't be afraid to work would be number one. And work all the time, skate hard, listen to your coach, be ready to go, be able to shoot the puck, work on your skating, work on your shooting. Remember that the puck is at the end of your stick. So it's a little different perspective. Gordie Howe used to say, when I saw the net, same thing with Gretzky, I would know that it was about 2 feet, 3 feet away from me as far as the angles go. So, understand that, and be a team player. And the game's not about you. The game's about your team winning.
I love that. You probably see that all the time, right? When you talk to these guys, I think hockey is a unique group of individuals where you don't really hear, maybe it's creeping in a little bit, but you don't really hear the me and I did this and I accomplished this. I mean, that can you talk about, when you're speaking with these players that are coming in? I mean, that's unique, I think, in the sport of hockey. Do you agree? Or
I do, Mike, and I think that they have to think that way. There are some now that think the game is about them, and there have been some guys down through the years that have thought that once they've been around a couple of years, realize that it's not, because of maybe they sit for a couple of periods or do something like that and don't get in the game. But it's you got to have the right mental attitude. You got to be ready to work and to be able to, you don't shoot for the goal if you got a shot for another guy there, if you got a better angle or something of that nature. But you still see guys like young guys, if you watch the first couple of games, they might pass up a shot, which they should take to make a pass. So you got to do both, but scoring goals is the name of the game. Just giving the puck to somebody with an opportunity.
Right.
You're bringing up some good points. I'm taking notes here. And one of the things that you remind me of, the first thing you said is don't be afraid to work, right? And one of the cool things about, where you're at in the position of the game is, and me too, and Mike also, we get to watch a lot of NHL warmups when we want to. And one of the things I noticed when watching NHL warmups is these guys are always, even in the warmup, shooting to score. And Mike and I know this. You go to a youth game, in the warmups, you hear two things. You hear pucks off goalies' helmets, and the backboard's getting hit by the puck, right? You go to an NHL warmup, every puck is in the net or off the post, right? And when they miss the net, they give a little grimace, like, I missed. So one of the things, especially to our listening audience, and especially to youth hockey warmups, remind your children, always be shooting to score, whether it's a practice, a game, a warmup, right? And then shoot with an intention, right? If you're warming up the goalie, warm up the goalie. You know what I mean? Don't just shoot at the goalie's head and do 16 moves. It's like a common problem I see in youth hockey that I think more coaches should be teaching. But the other thing, Lou, is just the eye of the NHL athlete of I'm putting the puck in the net. I always found that to be astounding. Have you seen that? Have you experienced that as well?
Well, as I said earlier, the name of the game is to score.
Right.
It's not to impress somebody with your prowess in the warm up. You have to be prepared for everything. If they're putting in the work in the weight room, you head on the ice, and you might ride a bicycle for a while there, do these things at the pro level just to get the muscles ready.
Right.
And then when you're out there, you start out with preparing the goalie, and that's the first part of the warm up is preparing the goalie. He'll come in the net, take a few shots, take a skate. The other guy will come in, he takes a skate, and then the guy that's going to play is in there for maybe 5-8 minutes. But at that point, it changes. The second time, it changes where you start getting your line rushes, and people do that instead of just single pucks here and there and everything else. But you have to have the eye. You have to be ready. And I think you're absolutely right. It has to be you have to be prepared. You have to shoot with a reason, with something in your brain that says, I'm shooting here for this reason.
Right.
I've been told the goalie has a slow glove, which none of them have anymore. These guys are all really good.
Right.
Or their stick side, there's going to be a hole. When you go up with the stick, there's going to be a hole somewhere. So if you can hit the hole or hit the pipe, as you say, it works out okay.
Yeah, it is amazing how players evolve, and that evolves goaltenders, and then goalies evolve, and that evolves players, and that's one of the beautiful parts of the game. And as you said, we're reaching a point now where they're both so good that sometimes I wonder if people understand the skill level. Another thing you said was, the we over me mentality, which is something we preach here, and we always like to remind everybody this is something that can be taught pretty young, right? A lot of people don't seem to realize that you can teach. It's more than just saying, hey, you got to work together, right? Coaches can implement that type of strategy and that type of mentality into their youth hockey teams of how important team play is. And I just wrote that note here. Team play can be taught. So my question to you is, because at the pro level, and this is another misunderstanding, it's a job. I think sometimes people forget it's fun. We play a children's game, but it is a job.
Absolutely.
And some NHL coaches probably correctly take the approach of, it's not my job to teach you the game. It is your job to perform at this level. So I'm curious if with, you've been around for every coach they've had, if you've seen things that you've loved about coaches in that team building realm, or processes of coaches within the organization that you thought, wow, that's really great, and that person found success.
I have, and I'll tell you, it means something when management hires a coach for a particular reason. What we've done here with our team in Philly is, we changed management, total management. It's from the chairman on down. Everybody is different in the last 2 years, including the coach. So once a mandate is out there as where you're headed with it, you're honest with the fans, which the guys have been, and we're now going to rebuild, and we're not going to retool. It helps, and it helps the coach in what he has to do. So there's a little bit of teaching there now at this level. Some teach more than others. Some coaches are hired to coach a team that's ready. Some coaches are hired to coach a team that is learning. So, and early in the season now, you've got all these kids. They went through the system. The guys that were in Lehigh went through the system with Lappy, and he teaches the same system there they're teaching here. Has to. Otherwise, they're going to really be terrible. They'll be passing and there'll be nobody there. So, that all has to work together. And some coaches are ready. Some coaches teach, and some coaches don't, and they're not around for long.
When I think of coaches, I think there's really two types of coaches. There's the Kevin Costner coach, who's the same coach in every movie he's in, right? But he does it really, really well. And that goes to that point you were saying, that if a team's in a certain position, that might be the guy, that might be the role. But there's also chameleon coaches, right? Coaches that can adapt to certain situations. And one of the big changes I've seen, as you just alluded to, is just the mental side of the athlete has changed a lot, especially over the last 10 years, where mental health, mental fitness, these are factors now that coaches have to take into account. And the best ones do. Yeah, the best ones make room for that and understand that that's a change. And the point I'm making is that it doesn't matter if you are well tenured or a newer coach, you have to constantly be evolving as a coach in order to be effective.
That's true. And, coaches learn just as players learn,
right,
as announcers learn, as managers learn, You know, you can get burned by another manager, and easy. It happens easy. Some are better than others. Some are going to be patient. Some are going to, pull a trigger on something. If an individual is in a case where they've got to win or they're gone, the tendency is to go for a lot of people, a lot of players that might be good for a year and not go down the road and stick around. What they're doing here, if I can take us to here, if it's okay to do that,
Absolutely.
is these guys are being patient with players while they learn. And while the players learn and get better at things and get used to line mates, because the Flyers are going to have line mates changing pretty much. You see the fourth line now start games with Delorier, and those three guys. That's the best group we have right now.
Right.
And the other guys, they have good games, bad games, and they're switching some players out and trying to figure out what the fit is. But nobody wants to play against that fourth line because they're going to hit you.
Right.
And it's interesting to see that, and I think the fans really like that idea. What little they have seen them together,
Right.
2 games.
Right. Lou, what's funny is I think you just summed up youth hockey in a lot of ways. From an NHL level, patience while they learn. It's something that sometimes we don't see a lot at the younger levels. We see that, no, we have to win now. But you've really just described that. Patience while we learn. People move around. You got to find the right fits. You have that one sturdy line that can maybe you can turn to in a time of need. But I'm saying that because I'm trying to equate the NHL level to the youth level a little bit, that there are still similarities that, we made the statement here on a show one time, kind of as a joke, but it's true that we made the statement that every level beneath the NHL is a development league. And then we said, and the NHL is kind of a development league when you really think about it, because you never stop learning, right? In terms of just the development of players, it happens at all levels.
I think you're right. I think you can break it into what do we have, 32 teams now? The 32 teams, 31, whatever.
No,
there are
32.
groups.
You got it.
I mean, there are ones that are going to be good, and they're always going to be in the game and always going to be at the top level.
Right.
There are ones in the middle that have a shot at moving upwards to get in playoffs. I mean, it's all about playoffs.
Right.
What's that? Coach said playoffs. Yeah.
Playoffs.
So, and then there are guys that are just hoping that they're going to put on a good club together with what they're doing and make them learn to move into the next level. So,
right.
There are levels of teams that are going to be good and not good.
Right.
And you don't want to be in the bottom level.
Yeah. And it never stops. That's the continuing evolution. Teams move
Never.
up, teams move down. I want to note, we're recording this in October, a time filled with anticipation right now where we're living. But in my opinion, this is the greatest sports month of the year. Because if you're fortunate, all 4 or 5 or all of your pro teams may be playing, which is an amazing thing. So Philadelphia fans have been coming up a lot lately in the media as the greatest home field advantage in sports. Now, this isn't going to be a Flyers or Philadelphia question. I just had to say that. But this is my question. How in tune are you and the athletes with the support of the fans, and how does that play into team culture?
I think it plays really strong, depending on how the game is going. I think the fans can help the players. I think when you have 15,000 people there, the players realize that they're empty seats. And we have to realize as stewards of the game that as the players get better and as the record gets better, more fans are going to be at the game. No question about it. So when you look to put 19,600 people in there, you got to be putting out a good product. And I think that teams strive to make their product better. And when they make their product better, they're going to get more support from fans, and they're going to key into the support. I mean, think about, the loudest game ever in the Wells Fargo Center was probably the first game we had there, which was, I think it was World Cup of Hockey. I mean, when Canada played U.S., I believe it was U.S. Yeah. And, you had guys playing for both teams, and our team was good. And we had players both places. Rivaling that would have been the playoffs in 2010 or 11 when Booch made that save at the very end of the game against the best shootout player, period, in the league, and did the little dance, which he never does very much. But, you think about it and say, well, Booch was a hell of a goalie, and he sure was. He's had a lot of good things. And now we're lucky to have him there. But I mean, that was loud that day. And
Right.
the JJ Daniels shot, I guess that was a Wells Fargo. I don't know. You know, things go by and years go by, and
Right.
I've been around so long, I'm not really sure sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
remember that series, Mike?
No, no.
I love it.
I put it behind me. But I think it's no, that's so Lou, I had a really question because when you bring up just the fans and the rink and the atmosphere, I mean, do you feed off that? I mean, does your energy, I mean, are you trying to be even keeled, or is your energy feeding off that as well?
Well, I try to be a professional.
Right.
I try not to yell very much. I try not to be like some of the teams. I won't name any teams, but there are teams that are directed to do things differently and have shows, having a show. I think our players are our show, and I guess the one thing that is a little bit over the top is the Pico power play, which has its own life. I mean,
It really does. Yeah, we all know
its
that
own
here.
life. So
Yeah.
with that, I try to bring that home. And when our power play is going good, it's great. And when we're 0 for 5, it's not
Yeah.
so good near the end there.
And Mike, you might not know this, but there was a year or two there they didn't do Pico power play, and it was very weird for all of the fans because that's just how we've known the power play. For those outside Philadelphia, Pico's our power company here, and they've sponsored the power play for many years. And Lou, to your credit, you have always been very professional. In my time watching the team, I've heard small inflections in your voice during good times. You know, you make those calls a little bit more like goal
Sure.
calls sometimes, but you
Sure.
have which is great. You've always been professional, and I think that the fact you have been there since 1967 says a lot about your professionalism.
Well, you go through times at the beginning there where they're not so hot, and then you go through great times. You win 2 Stanley Cups. I was announcing for both of those. Rode in 2
Amazing.
parades. Took the
Yeah.
cup to work. I mean, it was cool. And
Right.
and then you don't do well for a little while because players move around and things happen, and then you get into a situation where you hope the team gets better,
Right.
which is where we are now. Everything that can happen, but naturally, big goals are going to sound better. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just
Absolutely.
big goals. When the crowd's going crazy, you got to get a little bit of a hype in there.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
try.
well, I'll say, look, I'll say this. I'm just thinking of this. There's very few constants with a team. I was going to say the logo, but that's not true for every team. But with the Flyers logo, there's ice that they play on. There's not much else that you can say has been around the team the entire time.
It's a good point.
Which is an amazing thing. I wanted to get to this too. We didn't say this in the open. I did say all the different games that you've announced. But in addition to all of that hockey, you also serve as the public address announcer for countless Mites on Ice games.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of parents that listen to this show. My kids have participated and will continue to participate in Mites on Ice. How important is Mites on Ice? And do you have a favorite story? Maybe not the one where Gritty abducted a kid and took him off into the rafters somewhere.
I saw that. I do remember that.
I do. We all remember that. Yeah.
Gritty's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gritty is sometimes out of control. Do I have a favorite one? No, I don't really. Because I've done them where they bring the kids in and they can barely skate,
Right.
and I've done them where one guy is the whole game,
Right.
scores
Yeah.
3 free goals, and I've done them where the teams are great and it's like a 1-0 game and they're all skating like hell, which is the best. That's the best one. And when a goalie makes a big save, kick save or something like that.
Right.
Or when a goalie is just not really the goalie, but they need a guy, so they put him in there, and he doesn't know what he's doing anyway. He's just playing on the ice at the Wells Fargo Center. But Mites are great. Mites are great, and they fill the time, that's for sure. And the antics on the ice that go on with the games and things of that nature. They're all a product of the environment in the 2000s, 2020s. Games happen. You feel the intermissions. You feel everything was something.
Right.
It's a show. So that's really important.
And how long do those Mites on Ice? It's so short, and I don't think people realize it.
7 minutes or something. Or
It starts. They run 17. Sometimes they run 18 for intermission when we're on national. And we tell them at the beginning, and you know, I always say we're going to play down to the 14:30 mark,
Right.
just
Right.
so
Right.
everybody knows they should be off. And then sometimes they don't go off, and they have to move them
Right.
away.
And Gritty has to take them, escort them somewhere to his lair.
Oh,
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows where, you know? And
Yeah.
most interesting thing is when the teams are good, you know, Gritty will grab a stick, and he's a heck of an athlete and skater, and you
Right.
know, he can shoot, he can play. So he'll maybe take a couple shots in the goalie when the play's down the other end, and
get it up.
you know, it's
Yeah,
good. It's good fun.
it's a beautiful thing. And again, it's only a couple minutes, a few minutes, but to those kids, it means so much. I mean, every one of them remembers that moment, and it really might solidify their place in the game. All right, Lou, last question for me. I see we're coming up on time here. Everyone that's a fan of the team knows your voice. You know, I was thinking prior to this episode, I can hear you in my head when I think about the team. It's like ingrained in my head. It's an honor very few get, just like playing the game.
It's very
So,
kind of you.
yeah, no, I mean that. You know, you joked about the Pico power play before, but I can hear your voice when I think of the team. I mean, it's they go together, they go hand to hand. So, kind of a softball question, but I have to ask it. You know, what does it mean to you to have endeared yourself to a city and to have a legacy like that with a team? Because again, very few people have that.
Well, all kind words. You know, I'm a Southwest Philly kid who was a rink rat up at the arena, which was Eastern Hockey League, and because a classmate from school, his uncle was a goal judge, who later sat next to me as a timekeeper for the Flyers.
Wow.
And we used to go up there, and we'd take broken sticks and play street hockey behind the school in a brand new street that was all surfaced, and you know, take chalk and make goals and try and figure out how to put tape on shoe shine boxes, you know, with the shoe stuff in it, make it look like a puck. And we had a lot of fun. And you know, it's just an opportunity. I got an opportunity to do it, and I've tried to, you know, do the best I can with it. I'm still a guy from Southwest Philly, you know, who grew up in hockey, and that's it. I mean, it's no different. It just happens that I talk a lot when there's a game on, and it's really no difference. But from the standpoint of a legacy, I'm proud of it. You know, hockey is all around me. I do a lot of stuff with it. I have a lot of pieces of memorabilia and a few sticks and things of that nature. And you know, I met some great people, and amongst them, you know, Gordie Howe and Bobby Orr and those guys, and all our guys too. You know, you talk about Clarkie, and Johnny Leclerc and Billy Barber, who was always number 2, and he shouldn't have been. With any team, he'd have been the number 1 guy for everything. He's a great player, killed penalties, did everything. But you know, it's the fact is that I was a part of it, and I guess a lot of people would like to be in my shoes, and I got to remember that and just try to do the best job I can.
Well, you do a great job. And again, I don't think someone sits in that seat as long as you if they're not doing a great job. I might even dare to say the best job. But I'm biased, but I believe that. And I'll say to you that just echoing your thoughts, that you're stating again the connections you get to make with people, even though you're not on the ice, you're in the game, you're involved in the game, and the people that you meet along the way, you know, there's the rub, right? That's really the gift. I mean, don't get me wrong, 2 Stanley Cups is nice. I hope I get to see one day, but the gift is the people that you get to meet.
You know, you got fathers that I've known who bring their kids to visit me, and you know, we put the headset on them and take a picture and all that, and that's one of the neat things about being able to do it, you know, because they moved me from the penalty box to a different section because of COVID, and we never gone back to the box. So
right.
So I can be walked up to.
Yeah. Well,
like
hey, we'll make a little a campaign here to bring Lou back to where he belongs, right?
That won't happen. Somebody at the NHL says they're going to stay wherever they are. It's not going to be in the box, and that's fine. I'm over it now.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mike, anything before I close this out, brother?
No, I think just another example. We talk all the time, Lou, about, you know, the kids, you know, when they aspire to be in the game of hockey, that there's so many options for them, right? And you're a living proof of that. Like, you don't have to be a centerman, you don't have to be a GM, you don't have to be a coach. You could there's so many aspects of the game you can be involved in, and you've made a career out of it, and obviously you love what you're doing, and it sounds like the fans love having you. But again, it's just another another way for players to be in the game and stay in the game, and around hockey. I know my little guy, we were laughing. He had a videotape my 16-year-old's game because we didn't have live barn in the rink. So he was doing it on the iPad, and he was doing the play-by-play the whole time. And, wasn't what, he did okay for a 9-year-old, but I think, it was just funny hearing the inflection in his voice, and he's just mimicking and mirroring, the people he hears, on his station. So it's really just another reason for anybody that's listening. There's so many different aspects of the game that you can be involved in, and it's really cool to see you do this for so long and so well. It should be really inspiring for a lot of the kids that listen.
Well, it's again, you guys are both very kind to me. I just go to the game and do it, and try hard to, make the pronunciations right and do these kinds of things, and, go from there. But there are a lot of things happen in hockey, and a lot of people that were hockey players are now in management of our building. A lot of people who are hockey players are now our mascot. Gritty can play. Like I said, he's good.
Yeah.
And he's got a personality that's unbelievable. I mean,
unrivaled.
And he can do everything, hit a half court shot in basketball, at the Palestra. I mean, he's done things like that. I saw him during an alumni fantasy camp. First time I met him, he walked in to the social event. We had a axe throwing lanes, 2 of them there, and he walked in,
gave Gritty an axe?
Gave Gritty an axe, and he threw bingo target in the center. I mean, it's just that kind of a guy. He just gets things done.
Yeah, it's awesome.
They're probably pretty close to signing him a few years ago, but we'll take him as the mascot. And Lou, I'll tell you what, we've had Carter Hart on the show, we've had Briere on the show, now we had you on the show. We're going for a Jonesy next. We've heard he's going to come on the show. Cannot thank you enough. This has been fantastic. Thanks for giving us some time today.
Well, I certainly appreciate being on the show, and thanks to Caitlin for contacting me, and for you and Mike to be the on-air guys. So take care, all of you, and let's go Flyers.
Yes, absolutely. And I will note here that this is the eve of the season opener. He gave us some time here today. I want to remind everybody to Lou's book, If These Walls Could Talk, has a lot more in-depth stories than we were able to get to today. Make sure you grab that, whether you're a fan or not, to be honest with you. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Lou Nolan on us with Our Kids Play Hockey today. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, if you want to hear all our episodes, you know where to find them. It's wherever podcasts can be heard. Make sure you follow us, though, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, X, whatever they are now. You know where to find us. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Have a great day, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.